Welcome everyone to this month's Tipping Points webinar, episode 33, where we ask key questions about how to preserve biodiversity while balancing conservation and development. This webinar series is an initiative of Oppenheimer Generations, Research and Conservation. Webinars usually take place on the last Thursday of the month at 1:00 p.m. I'm Peter Makumbe, the research manager at Shangani Holistic Range in Zimbabwe. I'm dedicated to promoting human-wildlife coexistence, particularly in landscapes where communities, livestock, and wildlife intersect. I'm glad to be here with you on World Ranger Day, where we celebrate and honor and support rangers who protect the planet's natural and cultural heritage. I hope and look forward to have a productive and insightful discussion today. Please be aware that this session is being recorded and will be available on the Oppenheimer Generations Research and Conservation YouTube channel. This is also where you can catch up on webinars you may have missed. I encourage you to sign up for the OGRC quarterly newsletter and stay tuned to OGRC's social media channels so you don't miss upcoming webinars and announcements. We are very excited to have such a good turnout today. Please continue to introduce yourselves and engage in the chat box. And don't hesitate to use the chat box for any questions at any time throughout the webinar. Today, I'm pleased to introduce our panel of experts. Across the world, stories of people and wildlife living side by side offer powerful hope, from farmers adapting to elephants in their fields to communities protecting predators they once feared. It's clear. Coexistence is not only possible, it's happening. But the key isn't better tech or stricter separation, it's people. This webinar explores why lasting solutions to human-wildlife conflict must begin with those who live closest to the challenge and the opportunity. Join us today to hear from experts working on the front lines and discover why no conservation effort will succeed without the insight, involvement, and leadership of people on the ground. Today, the panelists are Alexandra Zimmermann, Anna Songhurst, Maurice Munene, and Ntateko Mzimba. We will hear a little more about each of the panelists before they speak. First, we have Alexandra Zimmermann. She's a global leader in human-wildlife conflict and chairs the IUCN specialist group on the topic. She has worked in over a dozen countries, from Brazil to Nepal, focusing on community-led conflict solutions. An associate professor at Oxford University, she also advises the UN, the FAO, and international conservation funds. Her expertise spans science, policy, stakeholder dialogue, social dynamics behind conflict. Next on the panel, we have Ntateko Mzimba. She's a 12-year veteran on of the Black Mambas, an all-women anti-poaching unit in Greater Kruger, named Africa's best field ranger. She was named the Africa's best field ranger in 2023. She leads field patrols and trains rangers internationally. She's a powerful force for change in a village, championing food security and environmental education. Her vision is to build a center where communities grow into conservation champions. Next, we've got Anna Songhurst. She's an elephant specialist and co-founder and CEO of Coexistence Trust in Botswana. She holds a PhD in human-elephant conflict and works to reduce tensions between people and elephants. She has helped establish key coexistence networks in Botswana and the Kavango-Zambezi Transfrontier Conservation Region. She serves on multiple IUCN groups, guiding regional collaboration and science-based solutions. Finally, we've got Maurice Munene. He's a nature risk manager specializing in financial risk, biodiversity impact and sustainability strategy. He helps organizations assess and mitigate nature-related financial and operational risks. With a strong focus on stakeholder engagement and cross-sector collaboration, he drives resilience planning. Passionate about nature-based solutions, he bridges ecology and business for long-term environmental value. At this point in time, I'm going to hand over this time to Alexandra Zimmermann to take us through. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Peter, for that kind introduction to everybody. I'm going to try and quickly share my screen to bring up some slides, which are on the wrong slide. There we go. Okay, I think that's visible. So thanks so much for organizing this, and I'm very, very excited because this exact angle of human-wildlife conflict is very, very close to my heart. So as kindly introduced already, the IUCN Specialist Group on Human-Wildlife Conflict works at a kind of global level, trying to understand this issue and trying to bring together the best kind of state of the knowledge at the moment. And one of the things we have focused on particularly over the last years is to try and bring the social side of it more into really how we implement and also how countries have developed policies on these issues. And so what I really want to point out is that what we have realized is that human-wildlife conflict is a really serious challenge for every single country in the world. Some more than others, certainly across the African continent and also Asia. It is a very major issue, possibly the top conservation issue for a lot of countries right now. And of course, especially any countries that have elephants, that's a quarter of the world's countries, are really, really struggling with this idea of how do we coexist with these wide-ranging species. Also, any countries that have carnivores. So basically, pretty much all of the world is increasingly struggling with this, both in the north and the south and all over. And what is therefore, there's a real pressure to do something, pressure on conservation actors and on governments, and there is a pressure often also from communities to come up with a fix and do it quickly. There's an urgency to this. And that naturally, pressures us to try and find a practical solution, a technological fix to use something that will reduce the damage quickly. And that is completely understandable. But what we also know is that if that is not completely taken on by the communities, if it is not designed by the communities themselves, those kinds of quick fixes often, they at best don't work, and at worst they actually backfire and make things worse because they raise hopes and things then don't work out as everyone had hoped. So we really have to go beyond just saying that we need to work with communities, but actually really do it systemically throughout how we approach this global challenge. And to that, I want to just remind us that this idea of human-wildlife conflict, a conflict between wildlife and humans, is actually, in most cases around the world, a conflict between different groups of people who have a stake in what happens to the wildlife and are in disagreement about what should happen to it. Should problem animals be controlled? Should wildlife species be reduced? How do we approach all these things? So really, human-wildlife conflict is very, very often, in most cases, a human-human conflict about wildlife. So again, just really trying to understand across everything we do, the human side of this has to come first if we're going to make progress in this field. And it's all about trying to achieve a balance. We tend to want to invest effort into creating some sort of benefit for community, something tangible, economic perhaps, some kind of income very often. And that makes a lot of sense, and that's very important. It has to be balanced with something that is more about just an appreciation, a willingness, and a respect for wildlife those two things have to work together to get that kind of coexistence to work. If one of these is stronger than the other, the balance is out of whack. The system isn't as safe, as stable. So you need communities to benefit, but you need to also want them to you need to get them to want to live alongside the wildlife and have a deeper appreciation for them. So it's all about trying to get to those goals. And so it's absolutely about not only working with communities, but letting communities take the lead on this. This is different to just engaging and participation and to getting communities to inform or consult. This goes much deeper than that. This goes into joint decision-making about what should happen and really, really taking the time, not rushing into those quick fix solutions, but taking the time to work together and to make those decisions about what should happen together. What that translates into practically, it means community-led conservation or coexistence project means really making the effort to discuss the history of what has happened, to build relationships between the key stakeholders, maybe repair those relationships if they are damaged, giving the opportunity to be heard and to rebalance decision-making and power structures, and then to jointly decide that way forward. And so the next speakers will give really interesting further thoughts on all of this, I think. But just to say quickly that, and our role in the Human Wildlife Conflict Specialist Group is to try and get some of these ideas into the high levels of policy, to get governments and also the UN to take these approaches on board. And so we do that through things like writing IUCN policy, where one of this I'm showing here is a position statement that urges this approach. We have produced also global guidelines on how to manage human-wildlife conflicts through these community-led principles, among other things. That's available in 6 languages at the moment, with several more languages coming out, and you can download this very easily. The link is there. And I just want to point out there's a bunch of really positive, nice stories of how coexistence has been achieved. And we produced this together with the FAO some time ago. There are 25 case studies that, if you look across them, again, this idea of it's through the communities taking on the ownership of the solutions is the recurring theme here. So plenty of proof that this is the direction of travel for finding coexistence with wildlife. And I'm going to stop there. Here's some contact info and hand over to our next speaker. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Alexandra, for such an insightful introduction on human wildlife conflict. I will hand over to Ntateko to take through.
Okay, thank you very much. My name is Ntateko Mzimba, one of the Black Mambas anti-poaching unit. So here is the picture of our team during our parade, where if we wanted to say something, maybe or prepare the meeting or whatever, and then we do the parade as you see us aligning ourselves here. So this project started in 2013 with all female ranger, which is the first female in the bush. So I was part of them. Even now, I'm still part of them. So when you see the slides there, please can you scroll up so that I can able to see the logos down here? Okay, I can talk, but I can't see the logo. So when you see down here is Transfrontier Africa. Transfrontier Africa is the project that started Black Mambas in 2013. Then they decided to have Black Mambas, which would be the female patrolling the whole area, and then Black Mambas and inside Transfrontier Africa. And also another logo here, which is the Bush Babies Program. Bush Babies Project is a project that we go to the community and teach the kids, telling them whatever we have in the bush, sharing all the information about the bush, and also explaining to them why we spend 21 days in the bush away from their families, and also to why we protect our animals. So Oliphant West Reserve is the reserve that we are protecting it in Woodspruit. So when you see these pictures, it's us on during patrol. Every day in the morning, we go for first patrol, looking for the tracks, checking if maybe there is cutting down of fence or any suspicious things. So when you see us in our hands, we're holding this nest. So once we go to the bush, we try to remove this kind of wire that poachers are setting in the bush, and also destroying the poachers camp, because when poachers come into our reserve, normally they set up the wire to catch lots of impalas or different types of antelopes, and also they're camping there. You find that they may spend even a month because they cannot take the wet meat home. They have to make it dry or built so that they can carry a light waste. So as here we're carrying the wire that we remove from the bush. So when you see there is the background of us holding the wire, and also the fence line that we're patrolling each and every day. So how my life has changed ever since I started this project, I realized that during pandemic, so many people, they lost their work, some they lost their fees. So I end up thinking like, how can I help my community? Because so many people here, they always coming to me like, "Kate, we need help. You are still working there while pandemic is taking over and then everything is shut down. But how can you help us?" And I realized that in Black Mambas Anti-Poaching, we also have a project called Bush Babies, and we're dealing with the community, we're dealing with the kids. And then I'm starting to think like I can also do it in my community. That's where I started to realize like I should do something to help my people, my community actually. Because so many people, they decided to go to the bush and set up the wire to get me to take care of their families, because you find that one family maybe with 6 members in the community, but they fail to help their families. So it's where I started to realize that I should do something to make different in my community, because that is the community that I grew up on. So that's why I end up starting my own project called Ntateko Mzimba's Foundation. I named under my name because Mzimba means development, Ntateko means blessing, meaning like my community are blessed to have me. So in these pictures here, during my off time, I use my off to go to the crèche. This is the crèche that I grew up when I was still young. So thinking I have to go there, because up to so far I do have a place where I can do everything, but I don't have a building or classes to make people in a safe place. So let me go to the crèche that I grew to do everything, or teaching and gardening, doing food parcel education in there. So yeah, I was teaching the kids about the nature or the importance of wildlife, why I'm protecting the wildlife. So, and also to help the community understand why it's important to take care of our heritage. So this is a picture that we each and every time we're in the crèche, I do food parcel. The reason why I do food parcel, so many people, they are running out of food. The kids going to school with empty stomach. When they go to bed, still with empty stomach. So I realized that how can I help my project, because people are in need, they're in poverty. Then I managed to save money with my own pocket, buying these groceries to help people, but I fail to give them individual. What I'm doing is just buying big things, then I can share with them with a cup. If it's a rice, each and every person can get one cup of a rice, or if it's a bean, whatever food I bought, I have to share with the kids. And also, I started to realize that so many kids that going to school, they doesn't have even a uniform. When they go to school, they're not feeling comfortable staying with the kids that is having or she dressed nicely, but they don't dress nicely. Then I decided to buy a uniform. So winter time, I have to buy even jacket to make them feel warm or comfortable. So, and also uh, giving them the chance to water the garden. I'm also having a garden in the crèche, because I cannot buy each and every food to each and every houses. It's so expensive. But through the garden, they can able to water them. I also teach even the kids to water the garden at the crèche. And when the veggies is grown enough, they can harvest it and take it to their family, which is part of assistance, and which is part of letting them to be together. Because so many kids here, when they go home with empty stomach, their father thinking to go to the bush and steal. By doing this, giving them the food, allowing them to go and harvest on their garden, it makes them stop going to the bush and poach or doing things which is not good. And what another thing, when the kids give them the food, they were realizing that someone is taking care of us. We should stop going to the bush. We should drop it immediately, because we are destroying our kids' career. So that is why I'm doing this food parcel. So some of the kids in my project, they never been in the bush before. They just only see animals in TV or hearing it on the radio, or sometimes hearing on me when I'm talking to them or when I'm teaching them in the crèche. So Trans-Frontier Africa and also Global March for Elephant and Rhinos, they're assisting me with transport to take the kids in Kruger. We do camp, we do date there. So I allow each and every kids to attend the camping or the day trip so that they can able to understand why it's important to take care of our wildlife. So some of the kids here, as they've never been in the bush before, when I'm busy teaching them, I allow them to choose any species that they like the most, and then we talk about it. As you see here, we're busy talking about the pangolin. The next slide, it will be elephant, and the following slide, it will be a rhino. So when they go back to their families or their uncles or father, they say, my father, my favorite species is a rhino. Another kid says, my favorite species is an elephant. So it's where they started to think like what we are doing is totally wrong. Because now our kids, they get an access or get a chance to go to the bush and see the animals' life. They also get a chance to spend in the bush to understand why it is important to have a wildlife very close to us. Because some of them, we are staying very close to the bush, but they never been in the bush before. So by me taking them to the kids, it make a huge difference, because some of them, they want to be a guide, they want to be a ranger. And for myself, I think it's a successful, because going to the kids, giving them the information, I'm changing them their mindset, because it's a biggest investment. When they grew up as they want to be a guide, they end up knowing that there was a black mamba who was teaching us about this and this. I should take care of this. Like myself, I never know about a rhinoceros, but now in my age, there is a rhino, there is elephant, which need me to take care of it. So by investing to the kids, it's a biggest investment, because when they grew up, they're starting to have a knowledge that we should take care of our wildlife. Going to the adult, it won't make a difference, because they already have a bad mind of thinking, how can we get an easy man? How can we poach? How can we do this, which is a bad thing? But going to the kids, it's the biggest investment. So for me, taking the kids to the bush, it's an achievement, because now they're having a good mind that want to be a black mamba, want to be a ranger, want to be a guide, which is a base in the bush, which is part of taking care of our wildlife. So I'm feeling happy to be. I'm also a teacher. I'm trying to be a teacher, but I'm not a really teacher, but I'm trying to teach the kids how to take care of our animals that we have in our reserve. So those are the kids in the Kruger. And here, so we also have a workshop during the camp, starting to ask the kids, how do you feel? How do you feel being here in the camping? And end up starting to think, what is your favorite species? And then again, when we go home, please explain to the camp. So as here, when you see this third picture here in the middle, it was us during the fire there at the camp. It's where I try to give a chance to any kids reading, even though it's too dark, but we try to use fire to make light so that anyone can read. So I'm trying to teach even the kids how to read, how to understand why we are here, because some they don't even understand why I'm here, just to make fun, but I'm trying to change their mindset, like knowing being in the bush, being in the dark, how it is like this. Because sometimes even myself, I'm spending so many hours in the bush during the night trying to take care of the animals. So I'm trying to invest it to the kids, so they end up enjoying, and also giving them the chance, like, guys, what you see in the bush, try to draw it, try to make funny things with soil. So as you see here in front of the kids, they have got a picture of a giraffe. They're trying to make giraffe with sand, which is make me feel happy. It shows them that they're understanding what I'm teaching them, and also understanding what they see in the bush. They know how to read the bush, how to understand when it comes to the wildlife. And also after the camp, we give them the certificate of participant, like, okay, thank you for joining us here. Even next time we still need you. Here's the certificate of you to show that you are part of us, and all those kind of things. So, and also even the game drive. Game drive is helping them to understand wildlife the whole. So that's why all the kids, I'm trying to invest on them. So as you see what I'm doing here, I'm doing it alone. And also Trans-Frontier and Global March, they're helping me with transport to take them to the camp. Okay, so So I'm looking forward even to have a center that I can accommodate anyone in the project, because up to so far I'm having plus or minus 100 people, including the old one that doesn't have that are not working at all. So that is my dream, to have a center, because up to so far I don't have a center. I also have a place, but there is no building in there. And I also even want to help the kids with computer literacy, because I have 3 laptops that someone donated for me to help the kids with and also to have even Wi-Fi. Whatever wanted to get an access to apply whatever he or she want, they can get even access on that. So by doing this is to trying to change the community, because some of them, they're not working, but they're thinking of going to the bush, and so, which is make me feel bad, because I'm part of protecting the wildlife. So by doing this, I'm trying to change my community or Shukani as a whole. So my dream is to have a center so that I can do everything in the center. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you for such a important work that you are doing, Ntateko. Next, we're going to hear from Anna.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for having me here today. I'm just going to share my screen. Sorry. Okay. So yeah, I think just to start with, I just wanted to kind of reiterate some of the things that Alex said about how complex human-wildlife conflict situations are, and how there's such a need to understand you know, the underlying drivers of conflict in order to then be able to find effective solutions and ways to try and enable coexistence. So today I'm going to take you to a place in Botswana called the Okavango, which is where my organization Coexist is based, Coexist Trust. And in Botswana, we've got the largest population of elephants in the world. And really one of the main conservation challenges for such a big population of elephants, and which is wide ranging across other countries as well, is where they're coming into areas where people are living. And so we work in a place called the Okavango Panhandle, which is right at the top of the Okavango in northern Botswana. And here we have around 18,000 elephants and about 16,000 people living in the same area. And you have the main livelihood for people in this area is subsistence agriculture. And people have kind of settled along the edges of the Okavango River and the top of the delta. And then you have population of elephants, which is around, like I say, 18,000. And these elephants are moving from dryland habitat and moving through areas, kind of using quite distinct paths to get down to the Okavango to utilize the resources there. And as they come moving through this area, they're moving through areas where there's agricultural land, fields, and also settlements. And so one of the biggest forms of conflict in this area is crop raiding or crop damage by elephants. And this can be really bad for farmers in this area, because it's actually really difficult to farm in this area anyway. You've got Kalahari sands, you've got erratic rainfall. It's a challenge to grow enough to feed your family for the year anyway. And then you have elephant damage on top of that, where an elephant can destroy a whole field in one night. It can make people really vulnerable to the effects of crop raiding and human-elephant conflict. And then we also have the situation where we've got you know, kind of direct interaction between people and elephants. So where people are actually coming across elephants, and there can be fatalities from both sides in those situations. And that kind of example of conflict can then lead to a lot of fear and stress and exacerbate the intensity of conflict in an area. So what we have done is try to understand all of these underlying drivers of conflict in the area, so that we can then help to develop solutions that can tackle both short-term solutions, but also those longer-term solutions. So thinking about the main driver of conflict actually in this area is competition for space. People and elephants both need to utilize the area, they need to utilize resources, they need enough space. So for that kind of driver of conflict, we've been looking at solutions to do with land use planning and helping to devise tools where you can then see and be able to see where there can be areas of land for future arable development or future settlement expansion, and then also allowing that space for elephants to move in kind of corridors along the area there. And then in these corridors, this will then allow the elephants to have the space that they need, and we can demarcate those corridors. But at the same time, we have to think about those immediate needs of people. And thinking about, okay, if you can then farm outside of these corridors, you still need to be able to protect your fields. So we've been doing a lot of work on how to protect kind of larger areas of fields. So through like where you're clustering fields together, thinking about solutions where you can maybe put up a solar electric fence to protect a larger area of land, but also then what can you do as an individual farmer to protect your field as well. And then we have a situation where, you know, with this fear, people are having to walk across these corridors. People need to get to clinics, for example. Children are needing to walk to school every day, maybe 5 kilometers, and they're scared to go across these areas. Sometimes they don't make it to school because they're too scared and they run home. Parents are scared to send their children to school. So we came up with a solution together with the Okavango Community Trust and some private sector partners to establish an Elephant Express bus. So this kind of solution then allows you to tackle that kind of immediate need of people, addressing that safety aspect of people, and it's providing the transport to allow people to then access the schools safely, getting there and home, and actually making it to school in a day. And then we've kind of looked at it from the perspective where, you know, most people are farmers, you know, are subsistence farmers. So how do you then bring this all back to making it okay for someone to be able to farm in an area where there's lots of elephants? So what we've developed is a model called elephant-aware farming, whereby if people are considering these corridors and trying to farm outside of these and being able to protect their fields through different techniques, also managing to kind of practice conservation agriculture or sustainable agriculture, which can help to kind of improve the yields and make people less vulnerable to the effects of crop raiding, then their produce actually should be worth more because they're putting in a lot of time and effort to be able to coexist with elephants. And so we're being able to certify these farmers as elephant aware. And from that, then connecting them to new markets and being able to say that they can then, their produce is worth more. It can maybe be turned into other value-added products, and then that can lead on to more benefits coming back from the fact that they're living with elephants. We've also explored ways of those benefits coming back to people from other types of small enterprises as well, things to do with diversifying tourism products. So tourists are coming into the area now to kind of learn what it's like to live with elephants. That's being really popular with tourists, but then from a community perspective, it's allowing people to share how they're living with elephants and gaining a benefit from that as well. And likewise with craft makers, we've been looking at how can they make elephant themed crafts. And also we've had, you know, some enterprises to do with honey production and where people are using things like bees to protect their fields, and then they can use the honey to then gain benefits back. And I think all of this, like I said, it's about finding ways to look at those immediate needs of people that they need now to be able to protect themselves and their families and their food supplies, but also then thinking about those longer term solutions and addressing those root causes to do with, say, competition for space, cost benefits imbalances, vulnerability of people for living in that area. So yeah, in a nutshell, that's the approach that we've taken, and I'm happy to answer any questions that anyone might have. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Anna. Next up, we've got Maurice, who is our last speaker.
Thank you, Peter, and again to the people. We are happy. I'm happy to have this webinar and this conversation that is ongoing. It's a challenge that has been there, and I think it's a high time we get to find solutions. So I think I'll share my screen. So at AB Entheos, we are market drivers in the insurance industry, focusing on designing and implementing solutions for both nature and communities. And we've been doing this for like I said, we are market drivers in the insurance industry, and majorly focuses on designing and implementing solutions for nature and human beings. We've been doing this since 2014 when ABN Theos was incorporated. And our main goal is really to empower Africans who are affected by wildlife. And I just felt I need to share this is our footprint, the countries we've been able to operate in Africa. Currently, our business model leverages on technology to enable solutions, and we majorly involve local communities to keep them aware of what we should be doing collaboratively so that we are able to counter the challenges that we've seen that is brought about by human wildlife conflict. So far, we have been able to, these are the organizations we've been able to work with, just to mention a few. And currently in the Kenyan context, we have a project with the government that is looking into the compensation of people who are affected by wildlife conflict. And has worked pretty well because the communities are able to, protect their incomes from the compensation that is given by the government, and to preserve the little that they already have because of, they are not able to encounter so many conflicts. So this is essentially the impact of human wildlife conflict in a nutshell. There is a social impact where, communities live in tensions every time, and the governments are also involved in this aspect. There is the economic impact where families and communities lose livelihoods because of destruction and loss that is caused by wildlife. This also has affected the attitude that people have towards wildlife, and it has also deteriorated the level of tolerance that people have toward wildlife, and they see this as a risk to them. So every time this is happening, they see wildlife as the enemy, and they are ready to retaliate and take revenge or kill wildlife, which we are trying to improve and to foster better and more coexistence. 72% of African governments have responded at least to this challenge, because it is readily known by everyone that there's a serious challenge. And we are looking to find solutions on how we can, improve coexistence. And luckily, governments are coming on board for the places that we've been able to enter. They are ready for solutions that are long-term. Governments are also ready to understand how this can be taken to the next level and even sustain the solutions that are provided. So these are a glimpse of what is happening in Africa, especially when it comes to human wildlife challenges. Currently, like I said, we are in several countries. Just to mention a few: Kenya, Namibia, we are in Zambia. And in Zambia, we just launched a project in the Kafue region within the Kafue National Park that we are calling Wild. And this solution is something that has not been done before in the country. So the communities are eager to know what is happening. And for this project, we are compensating people who encounter losses. That is, if there is death or injury within the communities, if somebody encounters crop damage, livestock predation, or property damage, we are able to give some small consolation in terms of finances that can help the communities step up and be able to get back to, a better position. This also helps in preserving, like I said earlier, the little resources they have, and they're able also to take care of their families, maybe even children going to school. So at AB, this is just the solution that we are providing. We're engaging the local communities because we employ local scouts. We call them community verification officers, people who are local, who have come from these communities. So these are the people we equip with motorbikes and with mobile phones that have an app that we use. And this is what they are able to use to move around the communities, collecting data for human-wildlife conflict cases. And when we find this information, we're able to sift through. We are able to also, analyze the data, and we're able to come up with a quantum that we're able to give to the communities. So this has helped us even in getting what we call community buy-in. The fact that we are using locals who are known within the communities, it has helped us, gain the confidence that at least the communities are ready for solutions that they've been looking for, and it is working perfectly well. So there's a mechanism that we are using in, bringing out this solution that we've brought about in the nature space. The government are mainly our focus. We are also using the private sector, conservancies and donors, because we are looking at the long term and sustainability of the solution. So like I said, this is what we are piloting in Zambia. We are already on the ground, and I'm sure we'll be able to get very good feedback from people, because at AB we also want to, measure the impact that our project will, have in these local communities. Bearing in mind this is the first time such a project is being brought within Zambia. We are hoping to get very good information, which will also help us in moving forward and designing and maybe changing our way of delivering the solution that we have.
Maurice, can you please,
yes.
Maurice, please round up in a minute. We're moving to the next session. Thank you.
Oh, okay. So, like I said, there's a solution we are offering in Zambia, and for the first time in Zambia, offering a layer of the solution, that is the compensation. We have brought on board a parametric drought insurance cover that is to be triggered in an event where people experience a drought like we've had in Zambia, like in the past 3 years. Some amount of money will be paid by an insurance company, and this money will go towards beefing up the consolation fund, and also going back to the organizations that are involved locally to encourage people to put in place better and advanced mitigation measures to make sure that these conflicts are going lower and lower as we go about, because the point is coexistence. We cannot wish away humans or wildlife, so we have to find a way of living together, even as space for animals and humans shrink because of the growth of populations. So this is the product, the parametric drought cover I talked about, and the compensation fund I also talked about. This is how we've designed the product for the Zambia landscape. And because this is a pilot that we are doing, so that you are able to learn much more about the Zambia landscape and be able to come up with better designs and better results.
Thank you, Maurice. I will have to cut you, please. Okay. I just want you to have some time to do some question and answer before we close.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Maurice, and thank you everyone, even for the presentations. We just want to have some time to answer some questions from the panelists. So the first question that I'm going to ask to the panelists, I'll throw this one to Anna. The question is, how do you deal with communities or individuals that are weary or slow to adopt best practice for mitigating conflict?
Okay. Thanks, Peter, and thanks, everyone. I've seen a few questions there popping up too. So for the answer for that one, I think, you're working with people, so everybody is different. Some people will want to try new techniques, others won't. So what we found is that the best way is often to kind of find those that are interested and want to try a new solution, and then you work with them, and then they can then demonstrate to others how this is working. Other people can see, and then they will potentially be interested in trying those new approaches. And that kind of peer-to-peer learning is a great way to be able to expand initiatives.
That's great. Thank you. Then to Ntateko, the question is for you. How often do you visit these schools or creches? And how often do they visit your camp or visit the bush? And do their parents also, come to the bush?
Oh, okay. Each and every off, I have 10 days in my off days. So on that 10 days, I spend every day to go to the creche because I have to teach the kids. And also once in a month on my off, we do Mambas in the Bag, where I have to take the kids to the Kruger. And also, the mother, they never been in the bush due to the transport and financial, but I wish I can take even their mothers to the camp. But kids, each and every month, once in a month, we go to the Kruger, and also each and every, my 10 days, I go there and do everything with them. So, but for food parcel, I have to spend sometimes 3 to 4 months because I have to save money to buy food for them. So, yeah.
Sure. Thank you very much
Most
for answering that question. This next question is for Alexandra. So Alexandra, building relations and trust needs time, but wildlife move every day, and one has to find solutions for conflicts that happen on a daily basis. How do you protect local people, living inside or close to elephant corridors or wildlife corridors?
Yeah, it's a constant challenge, that one. So it does take time, and that is exactly the point. That time needs to be taken. So the more you rush into a quick fix, the more there's the chance that it will not work, because it might work very briefly, but it then creates all sorts of resentment when it doesn't continue to work. So it is about balancing both the immediate need and taking some action, but then immediately, not later, but immediately also looking at the structures below that and how to actually design something that is community-led, that is community-driven, and decision-making is made by the community. And there were other comments too about what is true partnership and so on. This is exactly the point. If these things are rushed, good human-wildlife conflict coexistence work takes time, and there needs to be an initial investment in listening, rather than rushing to a quick fix. And that is exactly the challenge, but one that we have to take very seriously if we're going to make any progress in this.
Sure. Thank you so much. This question to Anna. How do you encourage elephants to actually use the corridors rather than walking over cropland? And what kind of surveys or assessments are done when creating these corridors?
Okay, thanks, Peter. I was actually just busy typing a response to that. So basically, the corridors that I'm talking about, they have been identified through different techniques. Participatory mapping with the community has been a fundamental start. And then we've used elephant collars to try and track elephant movements. And we also do a lot of ground surveys where we're actually counting kind of footprints of elephants and working out where they're moving and where most of the elephants are moving most of the time. So these corridors are not ones that we've just picked out and said, this is where it should be. It's where the elephants are actually moving. So now it's about thinking about, okay, the elephants are utilizing those movement routes. So then you need to then think about how you can protect fields and kind of people and the use of the land for people outside of those corridors. So we approach it in that respect, rather than trying to divert elephants to move in a certain way where we think it should.
Sure. The last question, I'm just going to direct it to Ntateko as well. How are you tracking change of behavior in your community through your project?
Okay. Behavior change in the complex issues, and it will take years to achieve it, but constantly it's very important to collaborate it.
Sure. Thank you so much for those insights. And I want to take this opportunity to thank all those that attended today for their insightful questions, and also the presenters. I would like to express many thanks to Alexandra, to Ntateko, Anna, and Maurice for their valuable input and significant contributions to this conversation. The next OGRC Tipping Points webinar is scheduled for 28 August, where we will be speaking to the Jennifer Ward Oppenheimer top 3 finalists. Please keep an eye on our social pages for the registration link. Please also sign up for the OGRC quarterly newsletter to stay updated on future events. You can find the link in the chat box. For those who missed any part of this webinar or wish to revisit it, a recording will be uploaded to the OGRC YouTube channel named Oppenheimer Generations, Research and Conservation. In addition, a summary of this webinar will also be available on the OGRC website. Once again, I want to thank you all for your participation, and we look forward to welcoming you to the next Tipping Points webinar on 28 August, where we will be speaking to the Jennifer Ward Oppenheimer top 3 finalists. The links to our social media pages and also to our website has been posted in the chat box. Thank you very much.